country. This is to ease pressures on staffing shortages amid the ongoing government shutdown, which has now become the longest in United States history. Our Eric Perry is at Atlanta's airport checking in on the effects there, because as the FAA is making these cuts, we know it's going to affect at least 40 of the nation's busiest airports. So, Eric, good afternoon. Great to see you. What are you hearing on the ground there in Atlanta?
Yeah, good to see you as well. So, of course, we're talking the 40 busiest airports, and Atlanta is the busiest airport in the world. So far, the good news here is only a 7-minute wait time here, because we're not seeing the impacts just yet. They say all of this set to go into effect tomorrow, as the FAA say they will do 10% cuts across those 40 high-volume airports, as traffic air controllers there show signs of strains. Airport experts say this could impact hundreds, if not thousands, of flights to be delayed or canceled. And again, this all goes into effect tomorrow. So this comes as federal workers are not being paid during the shutdown. Many of them are calling out of work. Cities that will be impacted, again, here in Atlanta, but we're also seeing Denver, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, San Francisco. Then when you get to those bigger cities like New York, Houston, and Chicago, they have multiple airports there, so you will see multiple airports that are impacted because of this. Now, officials say they've already delayed flights at times when airports they are short-staffed, but air traffic controllers have missed one paycheck. They're set to miss a second one this upcoming Tuesday. They're seeing a lot of the strains. They're seeing a lot of call-outs, as well as TSA workers here as well. But back out here live here, you can see people are going in. Starting to go up since noon, but I think that's just because of afternoon travel, people getting off work, that sort of a thing. So here's what you need to know if you are planning to fly out starting tomorrow. So airlines say they are working to have minimum impacts to those who are flying, and will let you know starting today about cancellation and delays for upcoming flights. Of course, we have to reach out to Atlanta-based airline, Delta Airlines here. We also reached out and got a statement from Chicago-based United. Both say that they will offer refunds to passengers who choose not to fly. So this is even if your ticket is maybe one of those non-refundable tickets. They say they will offer a refund because of all of this that is going on here. But again, check to make sure. We haven't seen a lot of delays here, a lot of cancellation as of yet. But again, that's because all of this set to go into effect going tomorrow. So, of course, we'll keep you updated as well. I did reach out, got a statement from Hartsfield-Jackson. They say they are aware of those impacted or those flights that are set to be cut and delayed coming here at this airport. But they say that they're working on a plan and that they will be ready to handle whatever it is possible. Ariel?
Yeah, Eric, really interesting to hear. I think once you get the information from each of the airlines, that's also going to kind of help us understand if there's any specific impacts to them. What's the vibe like? Were you able to speak to any travelers or passengers going through security? It's good to see that the line is not too long. People aren't waiting too long of a time to get through. But curious if you had any conversations with people at all.
Yeah, just kind of talking to people as they're traveling by. Many people say, when they bought that initial ticket, they didn't know this was going to happen. So, I think people are really weary. I talked to one woman, Marsha Johnson. You'll hear from her starting at 4 o'clock. She flew in from Syracuse, and she's set to fly out on Sunday here. So she's just hoping she's able to get out, and that's not one of those impacted flights or anything like that. So I think people are just really cautious at this time. They don't know what to, they don't want their number to be called. They don't want their flight to be the one that's going to be canceled or delayed, because many people have already started to do as well. But earlier today, many people said they weren't necessarily worried when they were leaving just yet. They're kind of optimistic because, right now we're just not seeing those high volumes or those long lines or anything like that. But I think people are just kind of waiting to see. And I think probably about Friday, Saturday, we'll have a better idea of what it might look like, specifically here at Hartsfield-Jackson.
Eric, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And more than anything, safety is the key here, right? We don't want air traffic controllers doing too many jobs. Something slips through the cracks. Everyone should be able to go home safely after flying. So thank you, Eric, for this update and giving us a live look at the airport. Okay, guys, I want to continue to move on because I want to let you know where we stand as far as the government shutdown and what progress, if any, lawmakers are making. We are on day 37, the longest in United States history. And we know as of right now that as the shutdown continues to tick on, the impact to everyday life is growing more precarious. You just saw the impacts to the airport. And we also know that federal officials announcing those plans to cut flights by 10% in multiple high traffic areas because of these staffing issues. I know I'm taking a live look over to my right here where we have our big wall of monitors. And right now I know on the Senate floor, lawmakers are continuing to discuss and to take a look ahead as to what could happen in terms of voting on a proposed plan to fund the government shutdown. But so far they have been unsuccessful. Again, you're taking a live look at the Senate floor as lawmakers debate. But keep in mind, the future of SNAP also uncertain here. The Trump administration said that it would restart the federal food program, but it would only cover about half of the typical payments. The Senate is not scheduled to vote again yet today, but again, we could see senators stay through the weekend if there is a path forward. You see them debating there on the Senate floor. President Trump laid into Senate Republicans yesterday, telling them the ongoing government shutdown, now the longest in history, cost the GOP votes in yesterday's elections, or rather, I should say Tuesday's elections. So this has been an ongoing concern, and part of the reason President Trump is doing some of this is he wants to make a push for Republicans to get rid of the filibuster to be able to move forward with his agenda. Within hours, or with the House still in recess, we know that tempers were starting to flare on Capitol Hill. We actually watched House Speaker Mike Johnson and one of his Democratic colleagues get into a shouting match in the middle of a news conference. This again unfolding on Capitol Hill after the president's remarks yesterday. There are signs that lawmakers could be making some progress, but lawmakers say they're cautiously optimistic about reaching a deal because at the end of the day, Democrats say this depends on the White House and ultimately what the president is willing to do in order to reach an agreement. I want to let you listen in. Earlier today, House Speaker Mike Johnson held a news conference and, of course, Representative Hakeem Jeffries held a news conference. So I'd like to listen to about a minute of each of these. Let's start with House Speaker Mike Johnson.
But they've been out in their districts working very hard to help their constituents navigate through the chaos that's been created by the Democrat shutdown. And if you're keeping count, this is day 37. 37. It seems unbelievable to us that we've gone this long. It is officially and shamefully the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Republicans feel very helpless about the situation because, as we've noted, there is really nothing for us to negotiate. We sent them a clean CR, as you know, back in September 19th. We passed it out of the House. It feels like a lifetime ago. But that was a nonpartisan measure. It was 24 pages in length. It has no Republican priorities on it at all. It was merely the status quo to keep the lights on so that the members of Congress and the Republican and Democrat Party could work together to finish the government funding appropriations process. And the Democrats tried to turn that into a game. Now, we're going to give you the latest updates on that and where we think this is headed. But I just first want to address in a bit more detail the current state of our politics. It has been very interesting to us to see all the pundits trying to spin the results of the election on Tuesday. I just want to point out some simple facts here, and as usual, I try to be concise and give you the highlights here. But there's some things that we really need to point out. First, there were no surprises on Tuesday night, okay? You had blue states and blue cities that voted blue, to the alarm of no one, to the surprise of no one. That was what was expected. It just so happened that New York and New Jersey and Virginia were the states that were in the national spotlight on Tuesday.
This is day 37 of the Trump Republican shutdown. And the position of House Democrats remains the same. We will not support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. We're ready, we're willing, we're able to sit down with our Republican colleagues anytime, any place, in order to reopen the government, to find a bipartisan path forward, and to decisively address the Republican health care crisis that continues to crush people all across the country. Tens of millions of Americans who are in the open enrollment period right now are seeing their premiums, copays, and deductibles skyrocket, in some cases, by $1,000 or $2,000 per month. That is unsustainable, particularly in this country right now, which is experiencing an affordability crisis. life has gotten more expensive under Donald Trump and Republican policies. This is from a group of people led by Donald Trump who promised that costs were going to go down on day one. Costs haven't gone down in America. Costs are through the roof.
Okay, so you were just listening to Representative Hakeem Jeffries speaking a little bit earlier this morning on Capitol Hill about some of the Democrats' priorities in terms of ending this government shutdown and what he believes is important to Americans. Before him, you got to listen to Representative Mike Johnson as he spoke a little bit about Republican priorities. Coming up, we're going to speak to a Republican Congresswoman about the government shutdown, and we're going to dive in with Marjorie Taylor Greene as to what to expect and get some of her perspective on what's happening on Capitol Hill. That's coming up next. Welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstad. As many of you know, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene has made fiery comments and has voiced her ardent support for President Donald Trump throughout the 2020 and 2024 elections. But recently, she's been voicing her opinion on social media and talk shows about how she's differing from both political parties in order to support her constituents. I'd like to bring in a graphic now to give you some context so you can see a little bit about where she represents. As many of you know, Greene has represented Georgia's 14th district since 2019. That district includes a lot of far northwest Georgia like Rome, Dalton. But after the 2021 and 2022 redistricting, it now stretches down to Paulding and Cobb counties. It's one of Georgia's most Republican districts, but the change adds some Democratic-leaning Atlanta suburbs. And if we want to go to some video now, you can see a little bit of her performance, or rather appearance, on The View. We learned a little bit more about some of her perspectives and how Greene does not always sing the party line. She says she's there to represent her constituents and not a political party. She recently went against her party, blaming them in part for the government shutdown, and says Congress needs to consider what will happen if the Affordable Care Act expires. We've also learned a little bit more about some of her views and how she's broken with her party on votes censuring Democratic congressmen about involvement in foreign wars. So I'd like to bring in Representative Greene to talk a little bit about some of her perspectives today. And thank you so much, first of all, Congresswoman, for being with us this afternoon. It's a pleasure.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay, so I'd like to start off with what is on people's minds most, which is this government shutdown, now the longest in United States history. Could you give us a view of what's going on in Washington, D.C., and maybe somewhat of an insider's perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to clear something up, I actually came to Congress in 2021. So I haven't been here since before then. And I ran for Congress critical of both parties, actually, critical of Republicans and Democrats. It's my view, it's my belief that both parties have gotten us to where we are now, and that has Americans in trouble with $38 trillion in debt. And tragically, cost of living is a major factor for many Americans. And I've been very vocal. September 18th, I voted to fund the government with the CR in the House of Representatives, but we have not been in session and since then, and today is November 6th, and I have been very critical of that. Here we are, Congress is not working while Americans are working every single day and struggling to get by. And I think that is incredibly unfair. I do not believe in a poor work ethic. I believe in going to work. Just to follow up on that, I am not taking a paycheck. I notified the clerk of the House and said, do not send me a paycheck because we are not in session and working. So I have been putting a lot of pressure on the Speaker, on the leadership here in the House to bring us back to work, because it's my belief we've got to be getting to work for the American people.
You know, Congresswoman, I've heard a lot of people voice complaints about the fact that their elected leaders could be taking a paycheck while they aren't being paid. So it's interesting you say that you're not. I'm curious, rather, what common ground do you think needs to be had between both Republicans and Democrats in order to reopen the government? Is there common ground that can be found?
I think they need to find it. And so this fight is over in the Senate. Democrats could at any time, any day, vote on the CR that they have voted multiple times for, and they could reopen the government instantly. However, Republicans can also reopen the government by using the nuclear option, overriding the filibuster, and passing that same funding bill with a simple majority in the Senate. So as it stands right now, I'm blaming both sides because both sides are refusing to do their jobs, and that is to fund the government and get all these programs funded. I think that is our most important job. It's our constitutional duty. And however, I think that we've really got to come together in Washington and start talking about health insurance. It is one of the top factors that I get phone calls in my office about. Democrats passed the ACA, which is Obamacare, in 2010, and then they passed the ACA credits in 2021. And we have watched health insurance premiums rise ever since it went into effect in 2014. I know my own family's health insurance for a family of 5 went from $800 a month all the way to over $2,400 a month. Simply not affordable. However, with open enrollment starting on November 1st and the ACA tax credits expiring this year, we are seeing many Americans' health insurance premiums skyrocket, some 200 to 300%. That is just not sustainable for Americans, especially those who like families who are working multiple jobs and really trying to keep the lights on and groceries on the table. So I think enough of the political drama in Washington, D.C., it's up to us as elected leaders to deliver our promises that we campaigned on. I very much want to do that. I'm America first. That's the only thing I believe in, and that's for every single American.
Congresswoman, I would love to ask you a little bit more about health care and pick your brain, because as you said, right, you're describing a problem that I think a lot of Americans face, which is the rising cost of health care. A lot of Americans saying this just isn't sustainable for them to be able to afford. So what solution do you say exists, right? I know that you've spoken a little bit about how you feel Republicans don't have a clear-cut solution when it comes to health care. What would you propose?
Thank you for that question. And the reason why I've been demanding a plan from my party, and a lot of people at home may not know this, as a member of Congress, I'm not allowed to bring my own bill to the House floor for a vote and just get a vote on my own plan or proposal anytime I want. The Speaker of the House and the majority leadership, they're the ones that decide which bills come to the floor. So for myself, bringing my own plan and proposal, that just wouldn't work unless the Speaker and the leadership decide they want to bring it. So I have been demanding from the Speaker of the House, I have been demanding from leadership, what is the plan? And it's up, they really need to bring the proposals. Mike Johnson, our Speaker, has claimed over and over that he's got pages and pages of policy, that there are multiple ideas. However, what I learned from our leader, Steve Scalise, is there's not really any consensus behind one plan. And so I just spoke with Speaker Johnson earlier today, and he's invited me to meet with him to learn more about health care proposals, which I very much look forward to. I'm a big fan of associations where big groups can come together, reducing the cost. That could include groups of contractors or different industries. That could even include big companies like Costco and Amazon. I think that would be a good market to be able to lower costs. I'm also a big believer in doctors. I think doctor-driven healthcare is extremely important, and giving more power back to our doctors is a good thing that we can do and take it away from the health insurance companies, the PBMs, and big corporations that have really taken over a lot of hospitals, especially rural hospitals. I believe in healthcare freedom. That's something I really believe in, and I would love people to have that opportunity. But we also have to look carefully and closely at vulnerable people in our population, people with chronic diseases, people that just can't afford health insurance. And so we have to take those people into consideration.
Congresswoman, I know that you have received negative comments from people within your own party for appearing on shows like The View, Bill Maher, and you've called them out, referring to them as pathetic Republican men. Why do you feel that members of your own party don't want to see you on these types of shows?
You know, in America today, and it took us years to get here, but our country is very divided, and the political atmosphere is extremely toxic. And it has gotten to a place, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassination, so many political threats. I deal with them too. There's been multiple people that are serving time in prison because of death threats they made against me and targeted my family. This is not an atmosphere that I think is healthy for our country any longer. And so I feel like I'm in charge of myself. I'm the only one that can control myself. And I think it's important for people in leadership to lead by example. And so I'm happy to talk to the women of The View. I actually enjoyed that show, and I thought they were great, and they were very nice back to me. I was happy to go on Bill Maher's show. I thought we had a great conversation, and I'm talking to as many people as I possibly can. I think as Americans, we can disagree with each other, but we can also do it respectfully, and we can do it kindly. And I think that's one of the things that uniquely makes us Americans. And I want to bring that back. And I think it's much needed. I'm also a mom, and I worry about my children's generation and the future of our country. And if this toxic political divide continues to escalate, I don't think that's good for any of us. So I'm trying to take a different stance and lead by example, and hopefully we'll see more of it.
Congresswoman, I know that you have really reiterated, and especially even during our interview, that you are America first. You want to prioritize this country above all else. So what would be the first thing you'd want to do when the shutdown ends?
The first thing we need to do is focus hard on a serious health insurance plan for Americans. This is a crisis. It's like a building that is consumed in fire. The prices increased starting on January 1st, and open enrollment started on November 1st. That should be number one. Number two, we need to dive into a very hard-focused domestic policy that will reduce the cost of living for Americans and help people get back up on their feet. There are so many people that are struggling today, and no one should be getting by working a full-time job, maybe multiple jobs, and still going in the hole, having to pay for their bills month to month on their credit cards. And so I call on all of my Republican colleagues and my favorite president, President Trump, and his administration election, we promised everyone that we were America first. It's time to deliver it. And so I don't want to focus on foreign policy anymore. No more foreign wars, no more foreign aid. Stop funding all these foreign countries. And if we're going to fund anything, let's fund the American people and help solve their problems.
Congresswoman, you know, I think it's really interesting that you can call out issues in your own party, right, and call out issues in the Democratic Party, but you've made it very clear that despite your call outs in your own party, you consider yourself a Republican, you support President Donald Trump. So what are some of the key things that you think should change in both parties to create a better America?
Well, I think it's what I talked about is returning back to having conversations with each other. I think we have far more in common as Americans than we really have differences. And I think both sides need to put down our weapons, put down our hard words, and try to have conversations again. I think we've seen, over 10 or more years, we've seen families broken apart over politics, marriages broken apart over politics, parents and children broken apart over politics, coworkers and friends and neighbors. And I really want to see everyone to try to stitch that back together. And I described that to when I was on The View and I was having a very good conversation with them. I said, here's our beautiful red, white, and blue flag, and it's been torn apart. And it's up to women like us, I was speaking to them on The View, women with big voices and influence to sew it back together. And that takes time and effort and work. And so I'm stepping my foot out there, and I'm hoping to see others do the same thing.
Congresswoman, I think you brought up an excellent point, because I'm curious for people who might be watching this, right, streaming along with us, and they say, this is really great. It sounds like you're promoting a very civil way of discourse, but they may say, I remember that you had some of the most fiery comments, or maybe some of the most divisive comments, and now it seems like you're changing your tune. Do you agree with that? What do you have to say to them?
I would say that on both sides of the aisle, there have been all types of comments and name calling. I've been called a Nazi. President Trump has been called a Hitler. I've been called a racist, and all kinds of names. And the name calling and the words have come from both sides of the aisle, not just one side of the aisle. And I think that requires maturity from both sides to be able to acknowledge that. I'm a Christian, and so I'm trying to put my Christian faith into action. And that one of the biggest things is forgiveness. As a matter of fact, forgiveness is so important that Jesus tells us in order for us to be forgiven, we have to forgive others. And so I think the best thing that we can do is start there and just simply be nice to each other.
Congresswoman, I know we're getting ready to wrap up here. I have a couple final questions for you. One being, do you agree with your party's handling of the Epstein files? Where do we stand on this issue, and what's your message to Americans who want more answers?
I continue to stand on the side of transparency and women and victims of all types of sexual abuse, trafficking, rape. These are files that need to be released. I'll sign my name on any resolution and get involved in any effort to continue to try to make that happen.
And finally, Congresswoman, what's next for you? Do you envision yourself Congresswoman for a long time? Do you have your eyes on any other positions? What's next for Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Marjorie Taylor Greene is simply trying to do the job she has right now, and that hopefully will resume if Congress will go back into session, get this government reopened, get these federal workers paid, and resume the taxpayer-funded programs that we should have in place and get funded again.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for your time, for joining me this afternoon. I've greatly appreciated my discussion with you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. I did enjoy it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, guys, we're going to move on because I want to get to some other news in Congress, and that involves Nancy Pelosi's retirement. Former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, has announced she won't be seeking re-election when her term ends in 2027, ending her long career in the House. Now, Pelosi has represented San Francisco for nearly 40 years, quite a long time. With a grateful heart, she says she looks forward to her final year of service as a proud representative. She posted the video video to social media about this. She is 85 years old and the first and only woman ever to be named Speaker of the House. Pelosi was first elected to Congress in 1987 and served as Speaker from 2007 to 2011, and then again from 2019 to 2023. So quite the career. Okay, guys, we are going to switch gears because I'd like to get you an update on our weather forecast. You've got things to do. You've got plans. Meteorologist Lauren Robinson here to break it down for us.
Yeah, well, today is easy. Tomorrow is mostly easy. The weekend, not so easy. Next week, very cold. So that's a quick.
I looked ahead at the Storm Team forecast and I said, Burr, I will need a jacket.
Oh, yes. Now let's go ahead and take a look at those current conditions right now. Looks like our camera's out, but we're at 76 degrees, so we are well above average. Another warm, sunny day out there. Very calm winds, and we don't have to worry about that through the rest of the afternoon. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's coming. That high pressure system off to the north, that's what brings sunny, clear conditions. So that's why we're so nice yesterday and today, and maybe even during the first half of our day Friday. But eventually that front that's off to the northwest there, that'll push its way through. And as it does, we're looking for some late day rain showers Friday, maybe a few isolated storms. That kind of stalls out north of Georgia. And then we look for a secondary front coming in from the west. By Saturday, we're looking for the temperatures to drop a bit more behind that front, and then even more behind some Arctic air that'll push in as we move into next Sunday night, Monday, and into Tuesday. But let's go ahead and take a look at what we'll be seeing with those couple of showers. Here's a look at our severe weather map, and this is going to be for Friday night into Saturday. What we're looking for is going to be those dark green colors to the west and northwest. That's where some of those late day showers and isolated storms could be a bit stronger. We're looking just for those heavy downpours, gusty winds. Most of that activity is going to be in the yellow area off to the northwest there. We're just going to get some outside storms, trailing, lingering storms as we move through our Friday night. But a different story Saturday. Entire North Georgia under that dark green color. That's that level 1 out of 5 on the severity scale. That's because all across North Georgia, with temperatures in the upper 70s, approaching 80 degrees, showers and storms that pop up there could be stronger, and we're looking for the possibility of even some small to moderate sized hail to join the picture. As far as rainfall totals, south of the I-20 corridor, we're not looking for a whole lot there, just trace amounts of rain by the time this is all said and done Sunday afternoon. To the north, where you're seeing those yellow areas, that's where we could see maybe up to 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. But then again, to the south, we're not looking at a whole lot. So it is important to note, we're not looking at any complete washouts Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but each day does hold some sort of a rain and storm chance. In the meantime, we're going to continue to be sunny, dry, warm as we move throughout our day today, as we move throughout the first half of our Friday. Saturday and Sunday, those temperatures slowly start to drop. But once that rain moves out Sunday, we're going to see our Arctic blast push in behind it. Take a look at Monday's temperatures. Highs in the 40s. That's typically where our overnight lows are. So we're going to be maxing out where we're normally bottoming out. So we're going to continue to stay pretty chilly for our Tuesday. The good news is it only sticks around for a few days before we start to rebound toward the middle of next week.
Lauren, quite a Georgia forecast because we're getting both ends of the spectrum in a very short amount of time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you as always giving us the update. You guys, coming up next, we're going to be checking in on a lot of other news we have still yet to get to. I'd like to let you know about Heroes Fest over at Six Flags over Georgia. We've got some other things in the works, so that's coming up. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office has teamed up with Volunteer Gwinnett to host its 5th annual Thanksgiving food giveaway. And with the government shutdown, SNAP benefits in limbo, this can be a great time for families to get what they need. Our Tyler Fingert is out live. Tyler, I'd love to see what's going on. I see the activity behind you. First of all, great to see you. Catch us up to speed.
Yeah, Ariel, good afternoon to you. You're right about that. This is a big food giveaway every single year, but likely this year, because of the government shutdown, this has even more meaning for many families here in Gwinnett County and the surrounding counties who have come out here today. Take a look behind me. You can see they're actively, actually right now, loading up this vehicle right here with all of the essentials. They've been doing this for the last several hours. This kicked off at 11 a.m. this morning here at the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds, and so far they have served thousands of vehicles with all the items needed for a Thanksgiving feast. You don't even have to get out of your car. This is a drive-through event, and about 300 volunteers are doing all of the hard work, loading up the vehicles and getting you everything that you need. They are set to feed more than 3,000 families, I'm told. They have 3 different types of protein: turkeys, hams, and roasters. People are also getting a box of dry goods along with some fresh produce. This is being put on by the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the Kibo Building Bridges Foundation, and Volunteer Gwinnett. This is their 5th annual food giveaway. This comes at an interesting time as the longest government shutdown continues and people aren't getting all of the food assistance that they might normally get. I talked to the Gwinnett County Sheriff, who told me he loves this event each year and says it's important for them to put it on. Take a listen.
It's important for us to connect with the community. You know, we're trying to change the culture a little bit, you know, and let people know that, yes, we are law enforcement, but we are in this community also. You know, we want people to know, man, we're husbands, we're wives out here, we're fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, and it takes everybody to do their part out here to make it happen. So one of the things that I wanted to do was go out and connect in the community and get into areas that, you know, historically has been so unrepresented in law enforcement, to let them know that they're part of the, you know, the community and the family also.
Yeah, and so this event kicked off at 11 a.m. this morning, but people were waiting in line long before that start time. I'm told the first people started arriving at about 4 a.m. this morning. That's how important it was for those people to get here. One person we spoke to, you're going to hear on Fox 5 News at 4, they were telling me that they got here at about 9 o'clock, and it took them several hours to actually get through the line to get what they needed. And he was telling me he was just so happy and excited to be able to have this and to be able to have a full meal that he says is going to last him several days. It is important to mention this goes until 4 o'clock, but it's while supplies last. And if you take a look behind me, you can see they don't have a whole lot of boxes left of different poultry and the protein, but they definitely do have multiple lines here. So hopefully they're going to be able to last until that 4 o'clock window. But cars have been continuing to come through here all day. You see even more filing in right now. Just so vitally important for so many people to have come out here today. They know that this is something, volunteers know this is something that's important for the people here, and the people who are receiving this valuable food just know how lucky they are to be able to have this just 3 weeks ahead of Thanksgiving.
Tyler, thanks so much for giving us a live look at this. It's full of activity. Looks like families are getting the help they need. I'm going to let you go and continue to work on this. I really appreciate your time and giving us a live look in Gwinnett County. Okay, guys, I'm going to bring you back because we are going to take a look, as you can see, as to what is happening at Six Flags over Georgia. So this is really exciting. Six Flags is kicking something off for the first time ever, a new event in November called Heroes Fest. And I want to bring in Chris here, who does public relations, of course, for Six Flags over Georgia. Chris, it's great to have you with us.
It is so great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Love to have you on the set. So tell me a little bit about Heroes Fest. What is it all about? What's the reason?
Yeah, it's a brand new event that we're debuting this November, all through November on weekends and Black Friday. And it's a celebration of our DC heroes alongside our community heroes. We'll have face painting, performances, live music, you know, a lot of different things with our new characters. We're going to have Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Superman. So it's just a great celebration that kind of brings our community together, and it's a great time to get some last rides in for the season.
So I am curious. I'm bringing up your lower third banner right now so people can see your name. I'm curious, so if people are wanting to learn a little bit more about this, how they can get involved, bring their families to it, where do they find that information?
Yeah, it'd be sixflags.com. Tom. And one important thing that they need to know is that we are going to be offering free admission to all of our local heroes at Six Flags Over Georgia during the month of November. So that's going to include military, veterans, teachers, healthcare workers. So it's going to be a great event. We're just looking forward to having all those people out. And in addition to the free admission, they can go online and get 6 additional discounted tickets at $19.99 a piece.
That's incredible. So why did you ultimately want to do this? Did you hear feedback from the community about maybe, hey, this could be a fun thing? Was this something you guys came up with? Tell me the backstory.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a great November event. We're just coming off of our Halloween Fright Fest event, which is always very popular. So, you know, we've revved it up with the fear and the horror, and now we kind of just want to draw it back down, you know, and really just bring the community together. Six Flags Over Georgia, I mean, since we've been open, has been a place where families come together and, you know, just escape from the world and have some fun and get some excitement. So that's exactly what we wanted to do with Heroes Fest.
We're getting to see some of those heroes now, and I think it's really nice that people can equate, especially kids, right, that these heroes that they see on movies and TV are the real heroes are the people who serve the country, who teach them things that they need to know in school, and who show up for work every day and make a difference in their world. So being able to equate those, it helps kids kind of form some of those ideas in their own heads when they see this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be honoring those heroes with our Hero of the Day ceremony. So we've got some exciting, well-deserving people in our community that we're excited to acknowledge.
Chris, anything else that you think people really need to know about Heroes Fest if they're planning to visit? Advice you'd give them, stuff like that?
Yeah, so just some of the logistics of the ticket offer. So it is free admission to all teachers, healthcare workers, veterans, first responders, and military personnel. They will need their valid ID when they come to the park. They can redeem their free admission at the gate. For those additional discounted tickets for up to 6 friends, they will need to go online if they are military or veterans or first responders. Teachers and healthcare workers can get those at the gate.
Okay, great to know. And once more, when is this happening?
So it starts this Saturday, and it is going to run through November 30th on Saturdays and Sundays, and also on Black Friday.
Wonderful. Chris, it has been a pleasure catching up with you, learning a little bit more about Heroes Fest, and of course how we can get involved. I feel like as we get into the quieter months of Q4, this seems like a great family fun activity.
Oh, it's going to be a blast.
Can't wait. And the weather will be perfect for it as well.
Absolutely.
So, Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for streaming along here with us. Coming up, we're going to be taking a look at where our Atlanta Falcons are headed, and that is next. welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. As we know, our Atlanta Falcons are headed to Berlin, Germany, and Delta is taking a special group of Atlanta Falcons fans and World War II veterans there for the game. So I'd like to bring in our Chris Rosenthal, who is at the airport. Chris, it is great to see you. Catch us up to speed. I'd imagine people are pretty excited for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm at the airport. I'm at gate E6, where they are getting ready for that flight. That flight takes off for Berlin at about 5:30. It's scheduled for, so it's still early. They're still getting ready. People are still checking in, so it's still a little quiet here. But folks are going to be showing up. They are already starting to get the decorations ready. They've got the balloons up. They got towels for everybody, and just getting ready for all the passengers to show up. This is one of 2 flights that they've had to Berlin for the big game. They actually Delta doesn't usually have a flight direct from Atlanta to Berlin, so they've actually had to open up these couple of flights to go there. But we're going to have some World War II veterans that will be some special passengers on this flight. One of them in particular is a gentleman who's on his way. His name is Hilbert Margol. He was a World War II veteran. He was served with his brother, and actually was one of the veterans that was discovered the Dachau concentration camp. So I'll be talking to him a little bit when he arrives later. But some veterans will be here. You're going to have fans here. We're going to have some members from the French and German Council will be here, and I've got some fans that you have diehard fans when they're here this early and nobody else is here. This is Yolanda, and tell me, I mean, are you excited for this game?
I am excited. I'm so ready to be there.
And I mean, this is a long way to travel. Tell me why make all these plans?
Oh, I've been a Falcon fan forever, so I'm following them wherever they go.
Yeah, and you go to most of the games that you can, huh?
I do. I go to most of the games.
Awesome. So you ready for a long flight? You got your pillow and some reading material, all that?
I am. I'm ready.
All right. So
thank you.
All right. Well, thanks. Yolanda will be there. She'll be at the game, and I'll be here, and we'll be here at 3 o'clock. We'll have more people here showing up. The festivity's supposed to get started around 3:30. We have some games here too, so little football games here as well. So again, so should be exciting.
Chris, I love to see all the people getting on board with you, haha, so to speak, right? It looks like they're having a wonderful time joining the fun. I love to see everything activated. It looks like we have, the balloons, some games like you're showing us here now, so that's great. Thanks for the live look. I know that you said, or what time did you say that the flight takes off? Remind me one more time.
Flight takes off at 5:30.
Okay.
It takes off at 5:30, and so but they're gonna get some people will start arriving here around 3:30, and they're gonna have some fun festivities for everyone.
Love it. Okay, Chris, thanks so much for giving us a live look at the airport. I appreciate your time. It is great to see. It looks like a lot of fun. Okay, guys. Speaking of the Falcons going to Berlin, I'd love to give you a look ahead to what to expect as the Falcons go to play this game. We have our Kelly Price here with us. And Kelly, I think I'd like to ask a really, essential question here for the people who are not Falcons fans, who do not keep up with this. Why are the Falcons going to Berlin?
Yeah, so the NFL has a really big expanded effort to play games abroad in Europe. They have fans all over the world. They played it in Brazil this past preseason or last year. They have obviously the London games they've been doing for a number of years. I believe they're doing Spain games, or if they haven't already. So they're kind of nodding to all of their global fans. There's actually a lot of football fans in Germany. It's actually a really big sport there. I actually just caught up with, there's a writer who writes for AtlantaFalcons.com in German.
She's incredible.
Yeah, so she, Fabian Lampe, catch her full interview tonight on Rise Up Tonight at midnight on Fox 5. We'll plug there, but she was fantastic. I mean, she knows the team inside and out, but also she knows Germany inside and out. And she was telling me how everyone there is so excited to have a game there,
Yeah.
just because there are a lot of football fans
You know,
there.
Kelly, I love this because I feel like we're exporting our football to the world at the same time that I feel like football is reaching popularity here in America, you know, like Atlanta United, that sort of thing. It's really cool to be able to see a game like this go abroad and to have people who may not have been familiar with American football now say, hey, this game's actually pretty cool. So who will the Falcons be playing in Berlin? What does that look like? Catch us up.
Yeah, so they will be playing the Indianapolis Colts, which are a really big surprise story in the NFL. They're 7-2. They're leading the AFC.
Wow.
This was a game that kind of when the schedule came out in May that you're like, okay, the Falcons probably win that game. That won't be too hard. This team is actually very good.
They are.
They're surging on offense, especially. Daniel Jones has had a bit of a resurgence at quarterback for them. They have a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. So it's going to be a really good game potentially, as long as the Falcons can kind of hang in it and score and keep pace with them.
Yeah, I'm curious, is that the biggest, you know, threat that you see or thing that you think the Falcons will have to focus on for a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of external factors, right? When you go play in Germany, you know, a lot of these guys are going to say, oh, it's a business trip, but it is still a fun place to go. It's a different deal than most Sundays. It's also really challenging to go, obviously, on an international flight that's however many hours long, go to all these different through the different time zones.
Yeah.
I mean, think about any time you've ever made a big trip like that. The debate of, do you go
I'm
to
not being
sleep
athletic after. I'm not, you know.
Do you go to sleep? Do you nap? Do you just power through it? You know, there's all these sport science elements to it as well. Actually, Raheem Morris spoke to that. I think we have that sound. If we have that sound available, he talked about that challenge.
Okay, let's listen.
We're going to a very important, like, Olympic spot, you know, where Jesse Owens, you know, won a gold medal, you know, in front of Hitler. And I mean, it's just crazy to even think about that you're going to play in that same exact stadium and do some of those different things. So just to get a chance to go out to the country in Germany and be a part of this, you know, football going global and doing the things that they talked about years ago, and be able to watch the National Football League be able to achieve these things was somewhat awesome. So I look forward to going out there. Everybody's going to be miserable, but it is what it is, man. Let's go embrace this misery and let's go enjoy it, right?
And I think what's so interesting is we know the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down is also around this time. So I think, and I want to make sure I'm specific on this, so we'll continue to talk about it. But it's interesting to see how there is that history, right? He talked about, you know, players that went up against, you know, authoritarian powers while they were playing games like this, and to be a part of that history and what that means for the Falcons to be there. And I understand we have a German kicker?
Yes, the Falcons actually have a German-born, Berlin, specifically born and raised player on their practice squad, Lenny Krieg. He's a kicker. He's part of the international program that the NFL has kind of made sure to get some players internationally and foster them coming into the NFL. So he is obviously very excited to go home. He told me this week his phone is just like blowing up with ticket requests, of course.
Yes.
So he is very excited for this week. They're very excited to have their own guy kind of come home. He hasn't played in the regular season yet for the Falcons. He's still in kind of a developmental track. He did play in the preseason. He nailed some pretty interesting field goals in the preseason, but he's obviously having the time of his life going there. He was texting all the guys last night, hey, here's a Google list. He made like a Google list of like pins of places to go and places to avoid in Berlin. So, you know, he's kind of being a little tour guide for the guys on the team as well.
That's awesome. I understand that you spoke with him a little bit. And if we have that sound, maybe we take a listen?
Yeah. This is him talking about how, I actually asked him, are there any misconceptions about Germany that you want to set the record straight on? This is what he said about Berlin.
I think a lot of people think Germany kind of looks like in the movies, so really traditionally, you know, a lot of beer, a lot of like bratwurst, a lot of mountains. I'd say Berlin is quite the opposite, so it's really international, not as traditionally German as you might think. So yeah, I always say it's kind of like the German New York or like the European New York, so a lot of different cultures just in one part.
Wonderful. And, you know, I just want to, he was talking a little bit, of course, about what to expect and what people think of Germany and their misconceptions. And so it's always wonderful to hear people put things all buttoned up. And I just have to say, going back to the earlier point, November 9th, 1989, Berlin Wall came down. So I knew it was sometime in November, wanted to confirm the date. So they're going around a historic time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Okay. Callie, we're looking forward to it. As always, I know you're going to keep us up to date. Guys, thanks so much for streaming along with us here. It has been an absolute pleasure. We've covered a lot of news as always. Kelly, I know you're going to be back coming up at 3 o'clock to talk a little bit more about the Falcons. So if you guys just missed out, don't worry. Kelly will be back, and we can't wait to see you. Thank you guys so much. The news continues at 3 o'clock.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. So happy you're with us, whether you're streaming on Fox Local, joining us on our YouTube channel, or listening on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM. We are so glad you're here. We got a lot of ground, as always, to cover a lot of live events happening right now. But we begin with an investigation that is intensifying this afternoon. The Crime Stoppers reward has just been upped for information about the death of playwright Olivia Matthews, who died in a fire back in September. Our Kevin Stewart is on top of this investigation. And why, Kevin? It has just seemingly ramped up looking for answers here.
Yeah, they're trying to solve this case. You know, this is a much-loved woman, a very popular person in the creative community here in Atlanta. The original Crime Stoppers reward was set at $5,000. That's been bumped up to $10,000. On the fire side, it was already $10,000. So we're talking $20,000 available to help investigators try to crack this case. As you noted, this happened back in early September. Smyrna Fire responded to a blaze at the 810 Bell Apartments on Windy Hill Road. Inside that found Olivia Matthews dead, but there was an undisclosed trauma that led police to call this murder. Matthews was an up-and-coming playwright. As I told you, police have been working really hard to try to crack this case. Two key tips have been discovered here. They really stand out. A woman at the scene, at the same apartment, I should say, same apartment complex, said somebody tried to get into her apartment that same night. Another tip comes from a nearby apartment complex a couple of months before the murder. I want you to take a listen.
We also went through our own 911 records and just people who had called police about suspicious activity, criminal trespasses, peeping Toms, anything that would be somewhat related to the incident that we're investigating. And we came across a call that we had where the woman did have video of somebody who was pacing back and forth in front of her door, peeping in the window. She lives on the second story, so they were peeping over the banister, looking at different things, and lots of up and down the back stairs and pacing, and she found that to be suspicious activity. And so she had called us several months ago about that incident, and that person we are looking to speak with. We do not believe that he is necessarily directly related to this incident, but we do need to clear all information that's coming into us at this time.
Now, Tom, everyone, one of the things that you may recall about this case that really stood out was not just the fact that there was a fire and then they get inside and they find a body and they call it a homicide, but you may recall there is a part of the apartment complex, a building right across from where the fire was, where witnesses said that someone, I should say, ran to 2 apartments in that building adjacent and ripped off a couple of ring doorbells that would have some type of video. And I checked with police today to find out did anything become of that, and they said that they weren't operating, so they couldn't go to a cloud and retrieve any information off of that video. To be truthful, they said that they don't have a ton of video evidence in this case. Tom?
I happen to recall, Kevin, when you joined us here on the 3 p.m. stream live that day, that they found the body and that the fire had broken out in that small strip of low-rise apartments, and that you had noted that the surveillance video wasn't very readily available, if you will, because they either weren't working or they weren't provided to police. So not a lot of leads to go on here. So I guess you can kind of understand why they're upping the reward in this case.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, that was really the really strange thing about this case, that someone allegedly would run off and pull off ring doorbell cameras at a apartment building right next to it to try to, you assume, you read between the lines, try to steal some type of evidence that might get them caught. But as you just ascertained here, that there was nothing there because they were not operating, which is really a tough spot. And that's why police are making sure that they can try to find what kind of video evidence that they can locate nearby in other communities, trying to piece together everything. For example, like you heard, you did see that image of that person who was prowling around another apartment complex, because they're trying to connect the dots to see if that person is connected in any way. But right now, again, Smyrna police are not calling that person a suspect, just someone they want to talk to so they can rule out everything.
Yeah, let's hope the increased reward will generate some leads and some answers as to how this fire started and the circumstances that led to the death of this well-known woman. Kevin Stewart live for us this afternoon. Kevin, thanks. Well, it was a trial that captivated our attention. It was something that had a lot of you talking on social media. It was a story that had generated a lot of viewer interaction. We're talking about Reginald Robertson, who was convicted on all 10 charges in the disappearance and presumed murder of Tiffany Foster. Well, our Doug Evans this afternoon got to speak to the jury foreman on that case. Doug, just what kind of insight did he provide into the trial and the circumstances that led to their verdict?
Hey, good afternoon, Tom. Well, one thing that Brian Johnson did is he kind of took me inside the jury room as they were deliberating and some of the issues that they talked about. But one of the things that I learned, and I've been covering this case for 4 years, one of the things that I learned, and I was sitting in the trial as well, that I didn't know about, is that Reginald Robertson was staring down the jurors. And they found that very uncomfortable, very intimidating, and very threatening. Here's a guy who's about to could go away for life, which he did, and he's having that kind of interaction with the jury members. Let's hear from this jury foreman. It was a circumstantial case, the evidence was. no DNA, no fingerprints, no ballistics, no body. Was that hard for the jury?
It was, in a sense, certainly no body. You think a lot of times that's kind of the key part, of any murder case. And then the little bits of DNA or fingerprint evidence, there was, scattered, kind of largely inconclusive in a way, that didn't give clear answers. But over several days of the trial and a number of witnesses, there was just an enormous amount of different evidence, whether it be from the phones or cell towers, things like that, that really helped us, I think, start to put the pieces together.
What did they think of Reginald Robertson? What did you think of Reginald Robertson?
With some of the evidence that we got to see, I think it gave us great insight into Reginald Robertson, what he was thinking at the time, through his text messages, and then also a number of recorded messages that he had sent to Tiffany, and the dialogue back and forth, and even some video that he had captured of him. And
not a good guy.
Not at all. Not at all.
Did you spend much time debating his guilt or innocence?
It was clear, confident that, he was guilty. And in our deliberation, we went through that, each of the 10 counts to go through. But without a doubt, I think he's
guilty.
He's guilty.
Guilty as charged, all 10 counts.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of the jury, and I don't know what happened to you, had this experience where he would stare them down.
Yes.
Did it happen to you?
I do remember, where it looked like he was staring directly at you. And it
and what was that
caught me a little
like?
off guard. You can't be sure of the intent, but it seemed a little bit to intimidate or control, and I just looked back at him and then moved on. And in my mind, I was really just going to focus on the evidence and not try to judge him or reach conclusions, but just take in all the evidence and go from there.
Do you think we'll ever know where Tiffany is?
Unfortunately, I don't believe so. Certainly didn't see any indication that he wanted to share that information now. And I think there were just little things. I'm hopeful. I think that's kind of the least you can do, make a step to try to make right some of those wrongs. But my impression was, he's not ready for that.
Yeah, one of the things that Brian Johnson said about Reggie is that, he echoed something that the family had said, and that is he hopes that he's never offered a deal in exchange for information on Tiffany Foster's body, because he doesn't want Reginald Robertson, this guy who's a control freak, to have any more control over anyone in the case anymore. Not the cops, not the family, not anyone, prosecutors or whatever. And as long as he's the only one who holds that information, he doesn't want anyone to bargain for it and allow Reggie to have that kind of control. Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe at some point he'll fess up when he's sitting there behind bars considering everything that's happened. But, your point about the intimidation on the part of Robertson staring at the jurors, including the foreman who you just spoke to, we often hear about jury intimidation, but that's usually people on the periphery of the case and outside the courtroom, perhaps. Not the defendant who's sitting there with his life on the line and the decision that this jury is going to make. You'd think that he'd try to be the nicest guy in the world to these people, but quite the contrary.
Right. And it's something that I said in one of my reports one night on Fox 5, Tom, when I spoke to Kim Bryan, who's the sister of Tiffany Foster, and also the prosecutor in this case, Laura Todd. And that is anyone who's ever met Reggie, and I've met him and talked to him and questioned him before, anyone who's ever met it comes away saying the same thing. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Unfortunately, at a time when you were saying something really critically interesting, we just lost your audio, Doug. So we're going to...
Am I back now, Tom?
Yeah, yes, you are. Actually, you're back. We can hear you.
Okay. All right, so there's a crazy bug in our streaming program that does that to me. Okay, so they're saying that the verdict they hope finally broke through his cockiness, his swagger, his self-assurance. Everyone who's ever met him has always said the same thing, and that is he thinks he's smarter than everybody. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So if he's trying to intimidate the jurors by looking at them, that's just all part of his effort to control people. And that's what he is. And that gets to the heart of this case. He's a control freak, and he'll do it any way that he can.
I think that insight and perspective, the fact that you've spoken to this guy, that you were in the courtroom, now we're hearing from the jury foreman, is what had so many people on our digital sites, our website here on Fox Local, dialed into this story, engaging with the content that you put up. It's just extraordinarily insightful into a very, very complex guy and indeed a complex case. Fox 5's Doug Evans for us. Doug, thanks. Want to take you live to our nation's capital right now? I take that back. Want to take you live to the world's busiest airport. How about that? Hartsfield-Jackson International, one of 40 airports across the United States that the FAA plans to pare down in terms of flights to ease staffing pressures amid the ongoing government shutdown. Flight reductions impacting at least 40, as I said, of the nation's airports. Here to talk about this, Nick Ewan, Senior Editorial Director at The Points Guy, somebody who is dialed into the impact of something like this. Nick, have we ever seen anything like this before, a directive coming from the Federal Aviation Administration in light of this government shutdown?
You know, it's interesting. We were actually talking about this last night, those of us who have been covering this industry for a long time. The last time something like this happened, believe it or not, was 9/11, where it's been this systematic across the board. We've seen individual airlines have little blips and system-wide outages and things like that. But this is the first time we've seen a large-scale impact across the entire airspace in the U.S. since 9/11. So it really is some troubling times maybe ahead for some travelers, especially if you're traveling this weekend.
We know when there's computer disruptions at a certain airline or among the FAA or air traffic controllers, that any kind of disruption can send ripple effects around the world, especially when you're dealing with 40 of the nation's most critical and busy airports like Hartsfield-Jackson International. Is this going to be more of a controlled cycling down of flights, in your view, so that it won't just destroy the air traffic control system and passengers trying to get to where they need to go?
Thankfully, I do expect it to be not as significant and immediate and widespread as a computer outage might be. The airline operation folks are going to do everything they possibly can to wind down operations on the flights that are going to result in the fewest disruptions. And again, we're talking 10%. That's a large number, but ultimately there still are going to be a huge chunk of flights that as of now will continue to operate on schedule. The big thing is that reducing these flights, you are going to have people who need to be re-accommodated on flights that have been canceled. Capacity is already relatively high. It's going to get even higher as we get closer to the holidays. So finding those empty seats if your flight is canceled may be a little bit of a challenge. But honestly, it remains to be seen exactly what the impact is going to be on the ground when it comes to these reductions.
Let's talk about supply and demand. I mean, it's bad enough that the airlines have sort of reduced capacity going in and out of airports across the country. We know that there are less flights despite a government shutdown going to where we need to go. And so ticket prices have been higher. Fuel is low right now, but fuel's been high in the past, causing ticket prices to go up. So there's going to be a supply and demand component to this reduction in flights, correct?
Absolutely, and that's going to be even more significant as we get to a really busy travel time like Thanksgiving. Now, I will say we're still a couple of weeks out from that demand period really ramping up. But if this does continue, if the shutdown continues and we see this 10% reduction go beyond just the next week or so, we may see a real impact around the busy travel time. Think of it like a water hose where you've started to reduce the available water flowing. Less water is going to be able to get through, and you squeeze it even more by trying to force more water into it. It's not all of a sudden going to expand. So again, I'm not saying that those with Thanksgiving travel plans should start freaking out right now. The most important thing to do is to download your airline's app, set up notifications for any flights that you have coming up so you can get immediate word if there is a change or a delay. And airlines are going to hopefully do everything they can to minimize the number of passengers that are impacted.
We know in terms of the government shutdown, Nick, that it's a they said situation. Democrats blaming Republicans, Republicans saying, hey, just sign the continuing resolution. Let's get the government back open. Then we can negotiate all the other things that you guys want. We know airlines themselves, including Atlanta-based Delta Airlines, has urged senators to come up with a deal to reopen the government, because my question is, what are the airlines doing with all these planes that are going to start sitting around, and their bottom line is going to start being affected as well. Forget the consumers who are going to take the brunt of this with the supply and demand issue that you and I just talked about, but the airlines are going to take a hit as well.
Yeah, airlines definitely have a financial incentive to not reduce their operations. The more that they are able to fly full planes with greater frequency, the better that is for their investors. And of course, the better it is for the flying public with more options. So airlines have already been lobbying the government, really trying to force the sides to the negotiating table. We'll see ultimately if these reductions will be the significant straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak. And if that will finally result in a resolution that could potentially end this shutdown and avoid real travel headaches going into what is already going to be a really busy and potentially frustrating travel period with the Thanksgiving holiday approaching.
Yeah, we've seen the devastating impacts of this shutdown over these weeks, starting with the fact that the air traffic controllers, the TSA workers, other essential workers aren't even getting paid. Now it's affecting folks who need to put food on their table in the form of SNAP benefits. And now the next nail in the coffin is this aviation reduction in service that is going to affect so many people. So let's hope that this shutdown ends sooner rather than later. Nick Ewan, Senior Editorial Director at The Points Guy. Always so great to have you, Nick. Thanks.
Yep, thanks for having me.
All right. There was a lot of activity happening at the White House today in the Oval Office. President Trump inviting the CEOs of drug makers back to Washington to talk about the reduction in prices of things like the GLP-1, the weight loss drugs, announcing deals with Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to slash the prices of the weight loss drug prices and offer some Medicare coverage. It's a landmark effort to expand access to the costly blockbuster treatments. So many people are relying on them to lose weight or augment exercise programs that they're involved with. The agreements will lower prices of the so-called GLP-1 drugs on Medicare and Medicaid and offer treatments directly to consumers at a discounted rate on a website that the Trump administration touted not too long ago called TrumpRx.gov. You're looking at RFK Jr., the Health and Human Services Secretary, Dr. Oz, the Medicare-Medicaid administrator behind him. The deal's among the most politically significant announcement to date in the Trump administration's effort to rein in high U.S. drug costs by tying them to the lower prices abroad, something that's known as most favored nation status. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, somebody who you no doubt have heard her name, announced that she's not going to be seeking re-election when her term ends in 2027. You know, the president was asked about that in the Oval Office today. No love lost between these two. President Trump essentially saying good riddance to Nancy Pelosi as she makes that announcement. She's represented San Francisco for nearly 40 years. With a grateful heart, she says, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative, in a video posted to social media. She's 85 years old, and she's the first and only woman ever to be named Speaker of the House. Pelosi was first elected to Congress back in '87 and served as Speaker from '07 to 2011, then again from 2019 to 2023. So Nancy Pelosi ending her reign in Congress next year, not seeking re-election. Be interesting to see who runs to fill her seat. When we come back, the investigation into the UPS cargo plane crash continues. We're going to hear the latest from a live report from Louisville where that crash happened as we continue in the 3 p.m. hour of Fox Local. Welcome back. You're with us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines, with you live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Appreciate you streaming with us today on our streaming app, Fox Local, whether you're watching on your mobile device or you're at home or dialed into us on YouTube or on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM. We are so glad you're here. The death toll has now risen after that UPS cargo plane crash in Louisville, Kentucky a couple of days ago. 12 people now reportedly dead after the plane went down in a fiery inferno Tuesday. As the scope of the disaster comes into full view, the NTSB briefing reporters saying that they are bringing people in on all levels to try to figure out why this plane lost its engine as it was rolling down the runway, cartwheeling into a fireball and killing people on the ground. Correspondent Asher Red is on the ground there in Louisville, not far from where that plane crashed. Asher, what more are you learning from investigators this afternoon?
Well, Tom, we know that the NTSB investigators spent a good chunk of yesterday and all day today walking runway 17R, which is the runway that this plane took off from. And they say that they found parts of the engine on that runway. Now, investigators say it'll take them more than a year likely to figure out how that engine caught on fire in the first place. But they say once it caught on fire, that engine detached from the plane's left wing. Now, flight data indicates that this long-range cargo plane, which was bound for Hawaii, was going over 200 miles per hour just before the crash. Now, this plane reached 475 feet before slamming into a petroleum recycling building and an auto parts store just south of the Muhammad Ali International Airport here in Louisville. Now, we've seen some images that show the before and after of that crash, and it left a half-mile long line of what was on fire when this crash happened. Now, the Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says this investigation could hit a new milestone now that they have both black boxes, the voice and the data recorder from this plane. It's in Washington, D.C. right now, and of course they're looking into what's in there. More than 60 hours of things to look through. Tom?
Yeah, and they said, Asher, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the news conference that we listened to yesterday, that process of listening to the flight voice recorder and then disseminating the information on the flight data recorder could take a few days, but provide an extraordinary amount of information as to the sequence of events before that plane went down in flames.
Yeah, it's a very intensive process, but what we know right now is that this particular plane was 35 years old. The MD-11 was built from, the first prototype came out in 1988, and it was the last plane was built, the last MD-11 was built in 2000. Now, flight records show that this particular plane was grounded for more than 6 weeks this year alone in September as crews fixed a crack in the fuel tank. The plane was flying regularly for 2 weeks before the crash, including 3 flights the same day as the crash. We did speak with a former UPS pilot who lives here in Louisville, who says that the crew may have been able to steer that plane away from a residential area, potentially saving even more lives. Now, this crash killed 12 people at least, including all 3 crew members, 9 people on the ground, which includes 1 child. The mayor here says that rescue crews are still searching for at least 9 missing people, and they expect to find more bodies.
Asher, and not that I expect you to opine on this necessarily, but I hearkened back because I watch, a lot of things regarding aviation. There was an incident back in 1979 of an American Airlines DC-10, which is a very similar aircraft to the MD-11. It preceded the MD-11 in Chicago, that lost the engine on takeoff. It also rolled off the end of the runway and crashed as well. And then when you're talking about fiery images like the ones that we saw, one thinks of the Concorde and the piece of debris that went into that engine, and then that one went down in a fireball in France. So the fact that we're getting these kinds of images from this particular crash, from many, many different directions, will be a treasure trove of information for the NTSB.
Yeah, and the fiery images that we've seen in the videos of that fireball literally coming up and sending smoke, hundreds of feet into the air, that was partially probably because of the 200,000 pounds of jet fuel that was in that tank. And of course, when 200,000 pounds of jet fuel land on top of a petroleum recycling building, the UPS pilot I spoke with says, that's probably something that helped that fire grow, and definitely did not help the situation. But like he said, the pilots very likely could have tried to steer away from residential areas, potentially saving more lives.
Yeah, but they probably couldn't at that point. As you said, they were going 200 miles an hour rolling down that runway. Just so tragic, but investigators certainly set to learn so much more about what happened here. Asher Red on top of the story in Louisville. Asher, thanks so much. Want to take you live outside, bring it back home for a live look over Lake Lanier on what has been just a spectacular week so far on this Thursday afternoon, headed into the weekend. Just cobalt blue skies, mild temperatures, something we'd love to enjoy into the weekend and next week, but I don't think that's going to happen. Meteorologist Lauren Robinson here tracking what's going to happen on our Thursday and Friday, and then things are going to change big time, Lauren.
Right. We're going from middle 70s today and yesterday and even tomorrow to highs in the 40s in the next few days.
Hello, winter.
Spoiler alert. I know. We're just going to pass right through fall. We're going from summer-like weather to winter weather. But temperatures right now all across North Georgia, mostly in the middle 70s. Some areas have even warmed into the upper 70s. 79 degrees right now in Eatonton, and we still might have a little bit warmer to go before we reach our peak heating for the day. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's heading our way. That H that's spinning off to the northeast, that's a high pressure system, and that's what's been giving us this sunny, dry, warm weather over the last few days. It's going to stick around and kind of influence our weather through the first part of our Friday, but then that cold front off to the northwest, that's going to push in some showers and storms. You'll notice most of that activity is north of Georgia as we go into our Friday night, but we could see some of the tail end of that push its way through North Georgia as we move through Friday night and into the overnight hours. By early Saturday, we're looking for more scattered showers and storms, and then another round comes right behind it as that front moves in from the west as we move through Saturday evening. So we're going to see a couple different fronts move their way through, and with it, a couple different rounds of scattered showers, isolated storms, and cold weather. As far as severe weather is concerned, as we go through Friday night, the areas in the dark green, that's a level 1 out of 5 for severe weather. That's really going to be across western and northwestern corners of the viewing area. Again, Friday, you'll notice the majority of that activity is off to the north and northwest, but we could see a couple of storms pop up across the dark green areas. With it, we're looking for maybe some heavy downpours, gusty winds, and lightning and thunder. Saturday, though, this is going to be a bit different. All of North Georgia is under that level 1 there. So we're looking for heavy downpours and lightning and thunder to continue to be an issue. But on Saturday, with temperatures in the upper 70s approaching 80 degrees, we're going to look for the formation of some small to moderate size hail to join the picture Saturday and even late Saturday night into early Sunday morning. As far as rainfall totals, we're really looking for most of the rain to fall north of the I-20 corridor. Take a look across southern portions of the viewing area, mostly, again, south of the I-20 corridor. We're just going to see trace amounts of rain. To the north, we could see anywhere from ½ an inch to maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain. So none of these days is going to be a complete washout. We will see dry time. We might even see some peaks of sunshine as we move through the weekend, but each day does hold some sort of a rain and storm chance. And with that, we're looking for Saturday to be the biggest chance for stronger storms. Again, hail, heavy downpours, gusty winds. Once all of the rain leaves our forecast, that's when that cold weather comes and settles in. We're looking for those highs in the 40s Monday, and we're not warming much by Tuesday. Those highs in the 50s. And mind you, 40s and 50s, that's usually where our lows are this time of year. That's going to be our afternoon highs. We're looking for lows below freezing, 28 degrees Tuesday morning.
So I guess pay attention when we go to bed Sunday night and the family gets up to go to work and school, it's going to be really, really cold out there.
Monday and Tuesday morning, it's going to be dangerously cold out there with those temperatures below freezing. You want to make sure you're bundled up and watch for things like frostbite on the exposed skin.
All right, Lauren, we'll pay attention. Thanks. Want to take you live to Washington, D.C. You know, the Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday on whether President Trump has the authority to levy tariffs on other countries. The president speaking today from the Oval Office saying that this is basically going to be a life or death situation for the country. The justices had major reservations, however, if you listen to any of the court proceedings from yesterday about the president being allowed to issue the tariffs unchecked, that a lot of that power resides with Congress. It is a major test for the president's executive powers and could end with the government returning, get this, so the president likes to tout that he's brought in billions and billions of dollars in tariff revenue from other countries, but if the Supreme Court rules against the president, we could have to return those billions of dollars in tariff revenues if it loses in the Supreme Court. And remember, this has been kind of a contentious back and forth between the president and other countries, and he's used tariffs as a lever of power in negotiating what the president characterized as an end to wars between countries like India and Pakistan. So, you know, you got to think that if the Supreme Court rules against the president, other countries will kind of have a smirk on their face and do a little victory lap, knowing that they have money coming back and that the president is no longer in the driver's seat when it comes to wielding that presidential power. No word on when this decision is going to come back from the Supreme Court, but it's something that we're certainly going to continue to watch. Closer to home, Election Day was on Tuesday, and voters are going to head right back to the polls in December to cast ballots for the Atlanta City Council seat 11. Angelique Proctor on top of this case following the two candidates in this runoff. Angelique?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. This is or was a highly contested race. There were 9 candidates in the beginning. We are now down to two very qualified candidates. Both of them are from Southwest Atlanta. Both of them are native Atlantans, and they really say they are ready to look out for this area. So let's take a look. Wayne Martin emerged as the top vote getter in the race that started with 9 candidates. Now, Martin is now the CEO of a faith-based nonprofit after spending 20 years in corporate America. He has worked behind the scenes in many campaigns, including Mayor Andre Dickens, former City Council President Caesar Mitchell, and District 11 Councilwoman Marcy Collier Overstreet. But this is his first run for office as a candidate. Now, Martin is a graduate of Therrell High School and Morehouse College, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and an ordained minister who says his focus will be economic empowerment for Southwest Atlanta.
Specifically District 11, the sentiment is we want to see our communities be revitalized, because people remember when places like Campbellton Road were thriving centers of commerce and thriving job centers and had wonderful amenities. And I want to work and lean into that work from a positive perspective of we only can go up from here. I want to see us reinvest and invest in District 11 in a way that brings jobs, that brings quality healthcare services, that bring quality childcare services, that bring amenities, grocery stores, pharmacies, all the things that make communities vibrant. That's what I want to see happen. That's what I'm going to work for. That's what we're going to achieve in this district.
Now, the second runoff candidate is Nate Jester. Jester is an attorney with Austin Byrd who took a leave of absence to run his campaign. He graduated from Mays High School and the Naval Academy before serving in the Marine Corps. He is also a graduate of the Harvard Law School and a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He says he has been the underdog in this race who is defying the odds.
When I got into this race, I was told I didn't have a chance. I was told I don't have the political connections, I don't have the money connections. There is no way a young man from this community can do this. And I believe in hard work, and I believe in community power, and I said I'm going to stand up and I'm going to try, and I'm going to do what I believe in because I love this community and I want to do it. So we've been working, building momentum, and I would just say that, you know, I learned in the Marine Corps how hard work pays off, and I just had a goal. You know what? I'm going to try to do this. I'm not going to let any candidate outwork me. I will stay up the latest, I will work the hardest, and we will just grind. And the community rallied around that vision.
Now, the runoff means 4 more weeks of campaigning. Wayne Martin's campaign has raised some $260,000, while Jester's campaign not far behind with $225,000. Both of them are solid candidates, so this race is actually going to hinge on voter turnout. Who can get their voters out on a December 2nd runoff election day, Tom?
Angelique, to learn about the background and qualifications of these candidates, Nate Jester, a United States Marine, Harvard Law School. I mean, those are some pretty impressive bona fides. Both of them possess those. You and I, we talked about District 11 before, and you underscored how important this particular Southwest Atlanta district is. Can you just touch on 1 or 2 things that have this district in the spotlight?
This has been a powerful district that has produced so many mayors, Tom. Great memory. Kasim Reed comes out of this district. Andy Young lives in this district. Shirley Franklin lives in this district. Keisha Lance Bottoms is from this district. They call this the king-making district. And so whoever the representative is, a lot of the people in this community are very much civically engaged. They are going to hold you accountable. This is the district that Marcy Collier Overstreet was representing. She has now elevated to president of the council. So it is a very important district in the city.
Yeah, and will either of these two candidates, obviously they will, or maybe they've gotten it already, look for the endorsement of any of these high-profile figures that you just mentioned?
Now, I'm not sure about that, but as far as the candidates who are in the race, Nate Jester tells me that he has gotten the endorsement of some of the candidates who were already in the race. I know Sherry Williams is one that has endorsed him. In fact, I just saw Tony Beelan Ingram. She was one of the candidates who came in fourth. She, too, is endorsing Nate Jester. But, of course, some of those bigger names, Tom, I'm not sure what Andy Young and Kasim Reed and Keisha Lance Bottoms, some of these higher profile names, I'm not sure what they're going to do in this race.
Yeah, or the new mayor-elect, Andre Dickens, whether he's going to chime in. Because, as you say, it's close. They're both kind of equally financially backed. So it's going to be a very, very interesting runoff with two very interesting candidates. Angelique, thanks.
This is going to be one to watch, Tom.
Indeed. As we continue here, you know, the government shutdown continues to impact so many people. We've been on the front lines of this story since it happened, including those needing government subsidies for things like SNAP benefits and just to get food on their tables, and local community organizations answering the call to action, if you will, stepping up, holding these giant food drives. We're going to check in live with Eli Jordan as we continue here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour of Fox Local. Stay with us. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour of Fox Local. Boy, we've covered a whole lot of ground today. We've dug deep into a lot of issues, including how the government shutdown is going to impact air travel, talking about a possible reduction in the amount of flights impacting about 40 airports across the country, including our own hometown airport and the world's busiest, Hartsfield-Jackson International. We talked a lot this week about how local food pantries are answering the call, stepping up to feed people who need to put food on their tables, not only for themselves, but for their families. And we're not only talking about the traditional recipients of programs like that, people who use SNAP benefits, but we're also talking now about government workers who are not receiving a paycheck, and yet they're still showing up to work every day. Eli Jordan is at Joshua's Place Food Pantry, who normally serves 250 to 300 people per week. But boy, there has been a dramatic uptick in the demand facing this particular food pantry in Jackson, Georgia. Eli joins us now live. Eli?
Hey, that's right. I am in Jackson, Georgia, Butts County. In rural Georgia, we've been covering a lot of the food pantries in and around Atlanta, but what about rural Georgia where the resources are not as great? And it's real important. And I'm here at Joshua's Place, and Michael is loading up a fresh batch of goods that they just got in this morning. And I'm speaking with Linda Daly. She is the director of Joshua's Place. Linda, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So you guys have already seen an uptick in food requests, haven't you?
Yes, we have.
How big of an uptick?
Oh, we've had, even the last food bank, we had over 100 people to come out.
100 extra people?
Extra people, yes.
How many people do you normally serve?
Normally we serve anywhere from 250 to maybe 350 people. But we have been on an increase, and this past one we did 575, and that's household, not people. We did 575 households.
And that's just at the beginning of the SNAP benefits lapse.
And just the beginning.
And so I guess the concern is how much greater will the need be, right?
Yes, we have such a big need.
Are you guys ready for that?
Not really. What our concern is, we need really a monetary donations. That's what we're asking for, because we have so many, like I said, 575 in the household. That feeds about 2,500 people. And in feeding those people, we want to always be able to have the food available. And since we partner with the Atlanta Food Bank, and cost goes up, so, you know, we have to have the monetary to buy the food.
And so, but your dollar goes a long way.
A long way in Atlanta Food Bank. Yes, it does.
I guess it goes a lot longer than what anybody can go out and buy and donate to you guys, correct?
Yes, correct.
And that's why the monetary needs are greater?
That's why the monetary needs is greater, because we can go to Atlanta Food Bank and we can get pallets of food. And so that's why it's such a great need for the monetary, yes.
Have you heard concern from your fellow citizens here in Butts County about what's going on?
Yes, we have.
What have they been saying?
All of, you know, their food stamps been cut. Some of them is actually no longer getting food stamps because with SNAP has stopped. And just even yesterday we had an emergency box that I had to give for a family of 5. And she came all the way from Locust Grove for a box. And she was saying how that she's full-time worker, but her food stamps had been cut. So she had no way of getting the food. It's either pay rent or get food, and she needed to pay her rent. So she came to us for food, and we was able to give her a box of food that would cover for about 2 weeks for a family of 5.
I bet you she was very grateful for you guys.
Yes, she was.
And you know, that's the kind of thing we need. But you guys also need the charity as well to be able to help the people in need.
Do.
You need some big money donors to help you guys out. Now, if people come next week or the following weeks throughout this month during this lapse of SNAP benefits, if they need to come and get some food, when are you guys open for donation or to hand out, and then do they need to register?
Okay, we try to encourage them to register online, because we have our website, and that is at joshuasplace.com. And if you go to the food ministry and click that, you will see where you can register, and you can also give donations there.
Gotcha. And what are your donation or distribution days for you guys?
Our distribution days are usually the 2nd and 4th Monday of every month.
And that might change here with this situation, but right now it's still second and fourth Monday.
Right now it's still the second and fourth Monday, but we do emergency boxes, and that's on an appointment basis, and we do those on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Gotcha.
So we are still covered, and that has increased. We've noticed a big increase in emergency boxes.
Okay. Well, and people can go to joshuasplace.com, click the donate button, help out with some monetary needs here at Joshua's Place in Jackson, Butts County, where rural Georgians are feeling it, going to be feeling it a lot harder with fewer resources to help them out during this SNAP lapse in benefits. Back to you guys.
All right, Eli Jordan, thanks so much. Cash is king when it comes to supporting some of these local food banks. They appreciate the food, but they need the cash to be able to distribute those resources and handle logistics and sourcing of food, staffing, things like that. So if you can reach into your pockets, certainly do so. Eli, thanks. All right, the Falcons are getting set to depart any moment for Berlin, Germany to face the Colts. Delta Airlines also flying a group of World War II veterans, including a Tuskegee Airman on board that special trip overseas. And Chris Rosenthal is with the group at the airport now, waiting to head over to Germany. Must be a really exciting time for those folks, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. That flight is scheduled to take off at 5:30. I'm here at Gate E6, where people are just starting to show up, arrive, and they're just starting to get the festivities going. I'm gonna pan my camera around here and just kind of show you. We got Freddie Falcon out here greeting people. We got little goodies for everybody here, and they got balloons set up. They got some games, and some fans are already showed up, festive, ready to go. This is one of two flights to Berlin, and yeah, I've got excited fans here. So this is one of two flights that Delta has opened up from Atlanta to Berlin, just for this game. But they do have a couple of actually several special guests, some World War II veterans that we have that will be on this flight. So we have Fred over here, Fred Nungesser, and Fred, it's been a while since you've been to Germany. How does it feel to go back?
When I was back there last year.
You were there last year, but but to Germany though. I mean,
it's beautiful. I always liked Germany.
You always liked Germany, but
as a country.
But Berlin's new for you, huh?
Yes, Berlin is new. We never went to Berlin. We were fighting south of Berlin, so we never got up there.
But it'll be a different experience, though, huh?
Oh yeah, I hear it's a pretty city. You know.
Absolutely. So Fred will be one of the veterans on the flight here, and then we have we also have Frank here. Frank will be on the flight. He served 3 tours. Actually spent some time in East Germany after his plane crashed there, and after his helicopter, and but he did eventually get out. So, and he's a Silver Star recipient. He's excited to go see the Falcons play. So, several other. Here we have another one here. This is Enoch Woodhouse. He's showed up, so he'll be Tuskegee Airman. He is going to be on that flight as well. So that flight taking off at 5:30, and these veterans will be on it, and excited to go.
I think it's so great, Chris, how Delta has partnered, with the Falcons to bring these veterans over to Germany, the Tuskegee Airmen there to watch this exciting game and allow them to be part of this experience and to see them treating those folks so well. And the excitement is definitely infectious. So great to see that out at the airport as our hometown team heads overseas to play in the NFL. Chris, thanks. Well, this is going to be Berlin's Falcons, first time hosting a regular season NFL game as you look at live pictures from Hartsfield-Jackson, where the Falcons are expected to lift off any moment. I just saw Myles Garrett in the newsroom not too long ago. He was headed out to the airport, Kelly, to get on I said, he goes, the plane's going to leave in 2.5 hours. I'm like, don't you need to get to the airport? He goes, no, it's a charter flight.
Yes,
so we get to walk right on board the plane. I'm like, gee whiz.
Right, they don't have to go through all the same security and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
but a big deal for Berlin. It's a pretty high-profile stage for the Colts and the Falcons.
Yeah, it should be a really good one on Sunday morning at 9:30 on Fox 5. We'll be carrying the game here on Fox 5. Yeah, I mean, this matchup is going to be really interesting, too, because the Colts are 7-2. They're really a big surprise in the AFC. They're one of the best teams in the AFC. They just made a huge trade for cornerback Sauce Gardner from the Jets. So they're kind of going all in a season that no one really expected them to. As you take a look at Lenny Krieg, he is actually a German and Berlin-born player on this Falcons roster. He's a practice squad kicker. He hasn't played in a regular season game for them quite yet, but he is obviously very excited to be a part of this. He told me this week he's got all kinds of people blowing up his phone. He's giving out recommendations to everyone on the team of where to go, where to avoid. So obviously some sightseeing as well on this business trip for the Falcons.
Yeah, but the Falcons have been unlike the Colts, have been kind of up and down, losing to the Dolphins. They beat the Bills, but they got shut out by the Panthers. So how do you see this game sort of unfolding between these two teams?
I mean, you kind of said it there yourself. This team has been so inconsistent, and that's really the only the consistency we've seen from them is the inconsistency, right? I think to win this game, they're going to have to keep pace with the Colts, who have a really, really good offense. They're going to have to score to keep up with them in this game because they're going to score points. I mean, Falcons fans are going to be disappointed to hear that, but this defense is not going to be able to contain them that much. They just have to score to keep pace, and I don't know if they can do it, so we'll see.
I understand from Myles that they're going to hit the ground running. When they land, it's going to be kind of early morning there, and they're going right to the practice field.
Right, and that's kind of the strategy, right? Like, even if you've taken a trip abroad, it's like, do you nap first? Do you just power through? There's always different strategies of how you kind of handle that. The sports science crew with the Falcons said, hey, we're going to hit the ground running. I'm sure they'll give them, some things to kind of help them sleep on the plane and get them going once they land. So that's what they feel like is the best plan.
And this game counts, correct?
Yeah, it counts all the same, and it's a big one.
Yeah, nice to see Europe sharing in some of the NFL action.
Yeah, lots of NFL fans over there, too, so they're excited for it.
All right, Kelly, thanks. Let's hope the Falcons get some rest on that plane before they hit the practice field in the morning Germany time. And, of course, as you say, the game airs right here on Fox 5, 9 a.m. on Sunday?
Eastern time, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Kelly, thanks. And thank you for streaming with us here on Fox Local on this Thursday. We got one more day of the week left, and we will see you right back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. The news continues right here, right now.
5 News at 4 starts right now.
A dramatic move by federal officials. The FAA announces major flight cuts at some of the busiest airports in the country amid the government shutdown. How airlines have responded. Plus, a bystander takes down a man who got past the first line of security during an attempted breach at Atlanta's airport. The new details we're learning from newly obtained 911 tapes. And the sheriff's office in Gwinnett County trying to make sure families don't go hungry this holiday season. How they've stepped up to help those in need. But first, a 10% cut in flights at some of the busiest airports in the country, including the world's busiest right here in Atlanta. That will go into effect tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us for Fox 5 News at 4. I'm Christine Spiro. This is coming as officials say air traffic controllers continue to feel the strain from the government shutdown. Fox 5's Eric Perry is live at Hartsfield-Jackson, which is on the list of some 40 airports that are impacted by this. Eric?
Yeah, Christine, when you're talking about busy airports, you have to include the world's busiest airport. Right here at Hartsfield-Jackson, we heard from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, other top transportation officials there. They've targeted those 40 what they're calling high-volume airports here. Experts say these cuts could impact hundreds and maybe even thousands of flights.
Arrived today, heading back on Sunday.
Marsha Johnson got an ATL welcome she didn't expect. She flew in Thursday morning from Syracuse.
Didn't know prior to booking and wondering what that would look like come Sunday with the busyness, being one of the larger airports, and if I would be able to take advantage of that.
She's one of many wondering what things will look like after top transportation and FAA officials announced a 10% cut across 40 high-volume airports. It goes into effect Friday, and officials say it will ease the strain on air traffic controllers, who are set to miss a second paycheck as the government shutdown continues.
This is data-based. This is not based on what airline travels, has more flights out of what location. This is about where's the pressure and how do we alleviate the pressure.
Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Orlando, Miami, San Fran, all on the list. Bigger cities like New York, Houston, and Chicago will find multiple airports impacted. Officials say they've already delayed flights when airports are short-staffed.
And as we continue to see staffing triggers, there will be additional measures that will be taken in those specific markets.
Here's what you need to know if you have a trip planned. Airlines say they are working to have minimum impacts and will let customers know starting Thursday about cancellations. Atlanta-based Delta Airlines and Chicago-based United both say they will offer refunds to passengers who choose not to fly, even if your ticket is not normally refundable.
That's my hope, that it's an early flight. My hope is that if something were to come up or if it's busy, that I would know sooner than later. So if I need to leave sooner, I can, or make adjustments.
All right, back out here live. I'm going to move out the way and let you see traffic is flowing through about 6 minutes here at the main checkpoint. I did get a statement from officials here at Hartsfield-Jackson. They tell me that they are aware. They are also preparing to activate measures to ensure that passengers here who might be affected will see reduction, continue to have what they call an optimum experience. We'll put that full statement on our website. Also, the statements from Delta and United Airlines as well. At the world's busiest airport, I'm Eric Perry, Fox 5 News.
All right, thanks very much for giving us perspective from there, Eric. Now, American and United Airlines have advised its customers to stick with their original travel plans, and passengers who are impacted by the reduction will be contacted immediately. Southwest Airlines says it's looking into how the cuts will impact its schedule, and they'll communicate with their customers soon. New at 4, we're learning more information about last month's security breach at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Fox 5 obtained 911 calls from the October 30th incident where a man attempted to breach the airport's main security checkpoint. Take a listen.
We got a gentleman at the main checkpoint in lane 6 who has causing a disturbance and just reached the TSA line at lane 6. Being apprehended by APD right now.
Okay, what lane 6 is it? T South, T North, Main?
At the main checkpoint. At the main checkpoint, white male, navy blue sweatshirt with green pants. APD had just apprehended him, but he actually breached the door and went past the document checker in lane 6 at the main checkpoint.
Atlanta police arrested Fabian Leon inside the airport and say they later found a gun in his car. Officers say witnesses told them Leon pushed past multiple agents and made it all the way to the X-ray machines before a bystander slammed him to the ground. Police have now charged Leon with simple battery and interfering with security measures. A federal judge in Rome has sentenced a convicted felon who shot at police to 10 years in federal prison. The case stems from a September 2023 incident where prosecutors say Shane Barfield was driving through Cartersville when he lost control of his vehicle and crashed into the side of the road. Police say they then received 911 calls that Barfield got out of his vehicle with a gun. When officers arrived, they say Barfield refused to put the stolen gun down and fired a shot at them. The FBI and Cartersville police investigated the case. In Gwinnett County, police arrested a man accused of stealing a trailer filled with dozens of guns and drugs. Gwinnett County police say they received a report about a stolen trailer out of Norcross last Thursday. They later found the trailer attached to a vehicle registered to Matthew Davis at his home in Doraville. Police executed a search warrant and found more than 30 guns, prescription drugs, meth, and fentanyl inside the trailer. So far, police have not released the list of possible charges. Henry County Police need your help finding a teenager who's been missing for nearly a week. Take a look at your screen. This is 15-year-old Jabria Greer, who was last seen November 1st in the Marcia's Vineyard area in Hampton. She was last seen wearing a gray jacket and light-colored shorts while carrying a backpack. If you see her, Henry County Police urge you to call them. Time now to get you updated on your weather forecast on another sunny afternoon out there. Live look here from our Sandy Springs cam, and you're seeing the skies lit up nice and blue out there. Meteorologist Lauren Robinson joining us here now with a look ahead into the evening. I guess we got to soak up these nice days and afternoons.
Right, we're sunny, warm, and easy today, and that's not going to stick around for long. We're going to see some storms move into the forecast, and then after that, we're going to see some frigid temperatures move in. Now, let's go ahead and soak up the sunshine. Let's take a live look outside where not a cloud is in the sky. Another afternoon in the middle to upper 70s, above average for this time of year. It's felt nice, especially if you have those outdoor activities. You go for a walk, an outdoor lunch, things like that. But you want to get that in today, maybe during the first half of your day tomorrow before big changes move in. So 77 degrees right now in downtown Atlanta. We have light winds coming in from the east-northeast at around 3 miles per hour. Those winds are going to stay pretty light, and we're 2 degrees warmer than we were this time yesterday. As you're making those Thursday evening plans, we're going to see overnight lows falling into the upper 40s and low 50s across North Georgia. Clear skies and calm winds stick around, but we do see changes as we move through the next few days. For Friday, we're looking for those temperatures in the lower to middle 70s. We're going to stay mostly dry, get some in and out sunshine, but Friday night into Saturday, that's where we start to see the first approaches from changes when some showers and isolated storms move through. Saturday and into Sunday, we're going to see on and off rain showers, some hit or miss storms. Those temperatures in the upper 70s on Saturday could allow for some of those storms to become strong to severe before temperatures drop into the upper 60s Sunday, and then they drop even further from there. Spoiler alert. But as far as severe weather is concerned, Friday night, western and northwestern portions of the viewing area could see some stronger storms, maybe with some heavy downpours and gusty winds. But then as we go Saturday into Saturday night, early Sunday morning, we're looking for all of North Georgia to be under this level 1 out of 5 for severe weather, and we're looking for the possibility for some hail to enter the chat. So I'll have details on all of that coming up in my full 7-day forecast. You'll certainly want to stay tuned.
All right, Lauren, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks so much. We are hearing this afternoon from the jury foreman in the Tiffany Foster murder case trial. In an exclusive interview with Fox 5, he tells Fox 5's Doug Evans that even without a body, Coweta County prosecutors more than proved Reginald Robertson was guilty of murder.
Without a doubt, I think he's guilty. He's guilty.
Guilty as charged, all 10 counts.
Yes.
Meet Brian Johnson, the jury foreman in the Tiffany Foster murder case, the jury that found Reginald Robertson guilty of murder, rape, and kidnapping, a case the prosecution won without a body. Johnson says it doesn't matter. Prosecutors put Robertson in key places at key times.
There was just an enormous amount of different evidence, whether it be from the phones or cell towers, things like that, that really helped us, I think, start to put the pieces together.
What did they think of Reginald Robertson? What did you think of Reginald Robertson? Not a good guy.
Not at all. Not at all.
It seems Robertson didn't help himself with the jury, according to Johnson. While they were trying to focus on the evidence, many of the jury members found themselves locked in a long stare with him. The man accused of being a control freak apparently at it again.
You know, you can't be sure of the intent, but it seemed a little bit to, intimidate or, control. And, I just looked back at him and then, moved on. And, in my mind, I was really just going to focus on the evidence.
Two final questions. Does the jury hope that they've given justice to Tiffany's family? This snapshot during the deliberations, the family in prayer outside the courtroom.
And what incredible kids. The two that were there, two that testified, her daughter, Tanila, and then her son spoke briefly before sentencing. But just two incredible individuals, both serving the country in the military now. And I'm sure looking down, she couldn't be prouder of them, and, as she should be.
Finally, will we ever know where Tiffany's body is hidden?
Unfortunately, I don't believe so. Certainly didn't see any indication that he wanted to share that information now. My impression was, he's not ready for that.
I'm Doug Evans, Fox 5 News.
There was a massive Thanksgiving food distribution today in Gwinnett County. The details just ahead.
And up next, an Atlanta congresswoman provides some much-needed relief to local families. The Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office helped fill some families' tables this Thanksgiving with their annual holiday food giveaway. It comes weeks into the longest government shutdown in history, which has affected Georgia families ahead of the holidays. Fox 5's Tyler Fingert is live at the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds, where that big giveaway, Tyler, wrapped up just 15 minutes ago or so.
Yeah, Christine, good afternoon to you. People lined up before dawn this morning for this massive food distribution here at the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds. They were waiting for turkeys, hams, and all the Thanksgiving fixins'. It felt like a party as roughly 300 volunteers came out to the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds to do some good Thursday. They were here to load up vehicles with the food needed for a Thanksgiving feast.
I definitely am not taking it for granted.
Daniel DeWitt is one of the thousands who came to the food giveaway. He showed us his trunk as he left, which was packed.
This is a huge ham right here. Especially, it's going to go to make multiple meals.
This is the 5th annual Thanksgiving food giveaway put on by the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, the Kibo Building Bridges Foundation, and Volunteer Gwinnett.
Well, it's important for us to connect with the community. You know, we're trying to change the culture a little bit, you know, and let people know that, yes, we are law enforcement, but we are in this community also.
The event is big every year and feeds about 3,000 to 4,000 families. With the government shutdown stretching on and food assistance not at normal levels, organizers know the importance of this event.
This is not about Kibo Taylor. This is about the community. This is about God's people, and that's what we're doing. And, you know, we're doing our part, you know, whether it be big, small, whatever it is that we can do, that's just what it is. So I'm happy. My heart is full out here right now.
People were able to get turkeys, hams, and roasters, along with fresh produce and boxes of dry goods.
We got the stuffings, cornbread.
DeWitt says he's glad he heard about the giveaway.
I'm very blessed and very grateful and very thankful that at least I'm going to have something to be able to on Thanksgiving.
And the Gwinnett County Sheriff says he is not only grateful for the volunteers who came out here to make this possible, but also the sponsors who gave all of this food. We are live in Gwinnett County this afternoon. Tyler Fingert, Fox 5 News.
Generosity in our community is definitely showing these last few weeks. So, Tyler, thanks so much. As this government shutdown continues, Georgia Congresswoman Nikema Williams decided to help the community today and feed those in need. The Atlanta Democrat and her staff volunteered at the Young Family YMCA on Campbellton Road today to give out food to families who are missing SNAP benefits. Today's goal was to serve more than 200 families, and the Congresswoman tells us it was so important that they help out in this way.
It's a critical time for us to come together as a community, and the Young Family YMCA is in the community serving every single day, not just during this shutdown. And so I am grateful to represent this community, represent the Young Family YMCA, and to be here to help families in need. So we have families who showed up at 7 o'clock this morning.
The Congresswoman went on to say she's ready to negotiate and end this shutdown, maintaining that she will work to put food back on people's tables and keep health care costs low. All right, let's get you updated on your weather forecast. Joining meteorologist Lauren Robinson right now. You're looking very spring-like for the weather, but
as are you.
I know, both of us, right? But
we're enjoying the sunshine. We're wearing it on our sleeves.
we are wearing it for sure, and we're going to be wearing something different in a matter of days.
Oh, sleeves will be bulked. We'll be layered up as we move into next week, and maybe even needing some umbrellas as we go through the weekend. We can see that here on our hour-by-hour forecast. We go through the rest of the day today, no problems. Nothing to look at in the sky as we're going to be completely sunny. Temperatures in the 70s this afternoon, cooling down into the 50s by the time we're going to bed. And then overnight into the early morning hours tomorrow, we're seeing those early morning lows in the upper 40s to low 50s. We go throughout our Friday afternoon and we get a little bit of in and out cloud cover, but quite a bit of sunshine, enough to warm us up into the lower to middle 70s as we go throughout our Friday. And then Friday night, we're looking for maybe a few isolated showers pushing their way through North Georgia, but the vast majority of the action Friday night will fall north of our state. We could just get some outliers here as we go throughout our Friday night. By early Saturday morning, we're looking for more of those scattered showers, a few isolated storms, especially across northern portions of the viewing area. Some of these could become stronger, but you'll notice areas south of the I-20 corridor remain dry during those hours. As we go throughout our Saturday afternoon, we're just seeing some in and out cloud cover However, some very hit or miss rain showers and storms. So not all day will be a washout as we go through the weekend. We will expect some shower chances late Friday night, on and off throughout the day Saturday, and then early Sunday morning. With this line that comes through Sunday morning, we're looking for some of this to become pretty strong as well, and then it pushes its way to the southeast. So none of these days is going to be a washout, but we will watch for some of those storms to become stronger. Friday, again, the majority of the action will fall to the north as you make your way through areas like Nashville, but then as we zoom into our viewing area, counties to the west and northwest could see maybe a pop-up storm that delivers some heavy downpours, some gusty winds, and some lightning and thunder. As we go into our Saturday, then late Saturday night into early Sunday morning, this is where we're looking for those storm chances to expand across North Georgia, all of the area being in this level 1 out of 5 for severe weather. And with those afternoon temperatures reaching the upper 70s, approaching 80 degrees, that's where we're looking for some small to moderate size hail to possibly join the picture. As we take a look at how much rainfall we could get, areas to the south, again, not getting a whole lot of rain. And then to the north, we could see roughly ½ an inch to an inch of rainfall by the time this is all said and done Sunday afternoon. Maybe some isolated higher totals as you make your way toward the higher country. But overnight tonight, lows in the upper 40s and low 50s, right around where we should be this time of year. And then tomorrow afternoon, another above average day. And we continue to stay in the 70s over the next few days before bigger changes come in. So as we go through the weekend, we're going to look for those hit or miss storm chances, those temperatures staying above average or even average as we move into Sunday. Once those storm chances move out, behind that, we're looking for bitter cold temperatures to move in, highs near what our overnight lows are. We're going to see those highs maxing out in the 40s and 50s as we start the next work week. Very windy on Monday and staying pretty chilly as we go into Tuesday. Early morning temperatures below freezing. That's where you really want to make sure you're bundled up.
All right, Lauren, thanks so much. Time now for a look at Skyfox traffic in the evening rush hour. We're getting reports of a stall on 285 in DeKalb County. It's heading north, blocking a left lane at I-20 and creating a slower ride from Boulder Crest Road. Consider taking Moreland Avenue to I-20 inside the perimeter as an alternate. Road work is causing heavy delays on 75 northbound in Henry County. One far right lane is blocked at Hudson Bridge Road. Delays stretch back before Highway 20. For now, avoid this. Take Highway 23 as an alternate. Up next, federal investigators making headway in their investigation into the deadly UPS plane crash out of Kentucky. What we've learned as the NTSB has recovered both black boxes from the wreckage. Today, investigators are analyzing both black boxes from the UPS plane that crashed in Kentucky on Tuesday. It could give them crucial clues as to what caused the crash. Fox's Asher Red is in Louisville, Kentucky right now. And Asher, the plane's left engine caught fire during takeoff.
Well, Christine, investigators say it could take them more than a year to figure out how that happened, but they say that after that plane's engine caught on fire, it detached from the wing. The flight data indicates that this long-range cargo plane was going over 200 miles an hour just before the crash. In its final moments, which you see right here, investigators say the plane reached 475 feet before slamming into a petroleum recycling building and an auto parts store just south of the Muhammad Ali International Airport. Crews found parts of the plane's engine on the runway it took off from. Now, satellite images show what the area looked like before and after the crash. The National Transportation Safety Board says the plane left a trail of fire more than a half mile long. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says investigators recovered the plane's data and voice recorders from the crash site yesterday.
This appeared to be more mechanical, but we do have the flight and data recorders. Those are in the process of being analyzed right now. They'll tell us a lot about what was happening on that aircraft.
The NTSB is analyzing those black boxes in Washington, D.C. right now. This particular plane was 35 years old. Flight records show that it was grounded for more than 6 weeks this year as crews fixed a crack in the fuel tank. The plane was flying regularly for 2 weeks before the crash, including 3 flights the same day as the crash. We spoke with a former UPS pilot who thinks the crew may have been able to steer the plane away from residential areas.
Someone asked me earlier, did I think that the pilots had the mindset to kind of turn away from a populated environment? And I said, absolutely, because that's how we think.
The crash killed at least 12 people. That includes the 3 crew members on board and at least 9 people on the ground, including a small child. The mayor here says that rescue crews are searching for 9 missing people, but they expect to find more bodies. Back to you.
The Justice Department wants Fulton County to turn over documents from the 2020 presidential election, even though multiple investigations have cleared the county of any wrongdoing. Coming up, hear why county officials say they've had enough.
And we're looking for some storms to push into the forecast this weekend, followed by frigid temperatures to start the work week. Those details and another check of my 7-day forecast coming up.
Taking a look at our top stories, a 10% cut in flights at some of the busiest airports in the country, including the world's busiest right here in Atlanta, will go into effect tomorrow. This comes as officials say air traffic controllers continue to feel the strain from the government shutdown. Transportation officials say they've targeted 40 high-volume airports, including Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson International. Experts predict it could impact hundreds, if not thousands, of flights. We're learning more information about last month's security breach at Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson. It comes from 911 calls Fox has obtained from the October 30th incident, where a man attempted to breach the airport's main security checkpoint. Atlanta police arrested Fabian Leon inside the airport and say they later found a gun in his car. Police have charged Leon with simple battery and interfering with security measures. And the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office helped fill some families' tables this Thanksgiving with their 5th annual holiday food giveaway. It comes as many Georgia families struggle with the loss of SNAP ahead of the holidays. This took place at the Gwinnett County Fairgrounds, and people lined up before dawn to get a chance to get some much-needed food. 5 years after Fulton County became embroiled in allegations of fraud over the 2020 presidential election, the Justice Department says it wants county officials to turn over those election records. But Fulton leaders say they're not turning over any documents. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is at the live desk with these new developments. Deidre.
That's right, Christine. Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts finds it ironic, he says, that we're talking about this when Fulton County just completed a successful election. Now, he says